My brothers and sisters, we come to a close of this series of sermons under this caption, It's in the Benediction. I want to call your attention to the book of Numbers, the 6th chapter, beginning with the 22nd verse. Here is how it reads in the New Revised Standard Version. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, Thus you shall bless the Israelites. You shall say to them, The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. I want to share with you today something to go on. I grew up in a small water-bordered town called Pascagoula, Mississippi, 160 miles from my place of birth, the green, lush place of Newton, Mississippi. My parents would often load me and my siblings up in the family car and take a 3-hour drive from the Mississippi Gulf Coast to central Mississippi to see our relatives in the beautiful country of Newton, a quiet place laced with farmland, rolling hills, and dirt roads. There never was a time we prepared to load up to leave those country scenes of wooded landscape, tables of food, farm life, and rooms full of laughter without my mother and her sister saying, Let's do one for the road. This meant gathering in a living room or on one of her sister's front porch and singing church songs from long ago. The melodies still ring in my mind and memory. This, of course, was followed with tears of joy and goodbyes and see you later and y'all take care and y'all be careful on that road. Hours of travel, but hours of travel with hope for a future gathering. My brothers and sisters, if ever we will make it on this journey in life, if ever we will succeed, if ever we will overcome and gain ground, if ever we will be encouraged to keep on keeping on and pressing forward and moving ahead, prospering and prevailing, we'll need one for the road. And if we as a people, rather if we as a nation and a community of redeemed individuals, we need something to go on. In retrospect, all worthwhile human endeavor have had to feel for a certain fuel to keep them feasible and fortified enough to face their uncertain future. Something to keep us all prepared to contend with our uncertain future. Something to keep us from stressing out under the strain. Something to keep us from cracking up in the middle of the calamity. Something to keep us from losing it when we've lost it all. Something to keep us from forfeiting our faith when all is fractured and frustrated. Something to keep us from pointing our pride when under pressure, compromising our character when in a crisis. Something to keep us from losing our cool in the heat of the moment. We need something to keep us from walking away from the work when nothing is working. We need something to keep us from selling our souls when we find ourselves struggling. We need something to hold us together. We have to contend with so many volatile circumstances, poor public policy for the poor, never safe streets to live in, always underpaid educators and poorly paid police. We have ill-equipped leadership in seats of power. What used to be called dope is now considered medical, sold not from a pharmacy, but from a dispensary. The disparity of payment of higher taxes or the highest of taxes, and yet we still receive the poorest of city service. We have the deepest of deficit, the most volatile of jobs, manipulated corporate hiring practices, and all too often the most controversial of leadership. There is a need, my friends, for something to help us keep on going. We have more violence than peace. We have the most advanced medical science and just as much sickness and death. You would think as many hospitals and clinics there are that are going up around this nation and the world, we wouldn't have this many sick people and people dying in the world. We have more schools but less wisdom, more technology and less realism. We have better housing and affluent neighborhoods, but we have less neighborly kindness. And if we will keep from full intent, if we will keep from giving up, and if we're going to keep our hopes alive, our faith strong, our spirits high, our heads up, if we're going to keep our nerves settled and our minds at ease, if we're going to keep our dreams alive, our plans in place, and our goals in view, it's going to take something to go on. For these very reasons, my friends, and for the consolation of God's people, this blessed benediction, otherwise dubbed by Bible scholars as the priestly benediction, is offered to all of us. It was initially given by God to Moses, from Moses to the priests, from the priests to the people of Israel on the eve of their embarkation into the promised land. However, they wouldn't go into the promised land without first of all going through some rather hostile territory. Their journey was not without challenges. They had to go through some challenging territory. On our 10-member family journey in the 1960s, from southern Mississippi to central Mississippi to Newton, it was never under the best of conditions. Our restaurant was in the back window of the car in grocery bags loaded with cake and ham and chicken and pork chop sandwiches. And since we couldn't stop in places that were sociably accepting of people of color, the rest stop for restroom and restroom breaks were in wooded areas along the roadside. My brothers and sisters, that is, we had to go through some hostile territory. Even though the people of Israel were on their way to the promised land, they had to go through some volatile territory. Their journey is reflective of the Christian journey. My friends, we too must contend with the hazards of our journey with Jesus. You know, people often sing from time to time, every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. That's poor theology. Yes, we love the Lord, and yes, the Lord loves us. Yes, we are saved, we are sanctified, and we are born again, but we've got to deal with some hostile territory. And sometimes the next day with Jesus is harder than the day before, tougher than the day before, sicker than the day before, rougher than the day before. It's not always easy along this journey, but thank God I'd rather travel with Jesus on this rough road and in this hostile territory than to travel without him. It is often harder than the day before because we too have to live in and contend with this hostile territory, this rough and rugged and ruthless land that's hardly expressive of real righteousness. This is a hateful land. This is a greedy land. This is a selfish land. This is a cheating land. This is an anti-Christ-like land. This is a mean, mad, mundane, and malicious land. This is a sin-sick land. This is a careless land. This is an untrustworthy, unsympathetic, drug-infested, demonically driven land. We therefore need something to go on, and it is enveloped in this benediction. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Might I share with you two final observations that are enveloped in this benediction, both of which reminds us that we have something to go on. We have, beloved, therefore, divine surveillance. You know, the human spirit is privy to perversion. That's right. You're not perfect. Yes, there are some issues with your flesh. The human spirit is privy to perversion. Somehow we have a romance with corruption. Our anthropological construct renders us totally guilty of violating God's law and order. It started in the Garden of Eden, and it is prevalent unto this day. My friends, this will continue to be out of control until a person's spirit is converted to God. Until then, the human spirit is privy and always prefers the most deviant of behavior. People choose, therefore, hate instead of love, receiving rather than giving, yielding to temptation instead of resisting, choose wrong instead of right. We prefer political party over people. Some people do. That is, there is the choice of segregation rather than unity, propaganda rather than truth, public opinion rather than the Holy Bible, expert analysis over God's Word, science rather than faith, philosophy over reason, consensus of opinion over justice, and enlistment with the host of Satan rather than fight in the armies of God. Hence, there is the need for us to be under God's watchful eye. One for the road requires divine surveillance. Thus, the benediction invokes these words, the countenance of God. G.J. Wenham contends that God lifting up his countenance warrants deeper analysis. When we read early on in this benediction, it read, the Lord make his face to shine upon you. That is, to lift up one's face means to pay attention. But when one is said to lift up their countenance that it may shine upon another, refers to one's benevolence. Therefore, for God to lift up his countenance upon us is God showing us his benevolence by keeping us in his watchful and under his watchful eye. During a family vacation in the western United States just a few months ago, our family toured the awesome sights of the state of Arizona. During our excursion of the Grand Canyon, our then 9-year-old granddaughter wanted to roam freely on that indescribably massive depression in the earth. Realizing the risk of danger that the canyon presented, as the Grand Canyon is a mile deep, 277 miles long and 18 miles wide, with no protective barrier at the location of our excursion. This was coupled with being surrounded by other tourists who were excited, taking pictures and exclaiming their elation about that scenery. And with much trepidation, my daughter said to her, while reaching for her daughter's hand, while reaching for our granddaughter's hand, she said, "Get in front of me. There's too much going on out here." This was the statement of a concerned mother refusing to let her daughter out of her sight. My brothers and sisters, God lifting up his countenance upon us is God literally keeping us in his watchful eye. This is necessary because there's too much going on out here. I need to remind you, there are conspiracies about another race war out here. There are lone wolves and mentally deranged people planning mass killings out here. There are mothers and fathers crying over their sons, their lost sons and daughters out here. There are plots and plans to continue suppressing your vote and stealing elections out here. There are thieves and robbers in spiritual wickedness in high places out here. There are wars and rumors of wars out here. There are perverted plots and sinister schemes by people in power so as to stay in power to keep anybody else out of power out here. My brothers and sisters, being in God's view, therefore, is what we need, because this is what gives us consolation. It is perhaps best described in the lyrical expression of this awe-inspiring hymn, "Why should I feel discouraged? And why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home when Jesus is my portion? A constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he's watching over me." My brothers and sisters, as insignificant as a bird is, if the Lord will keep his eye on a bird, certainly he'll look out for a believer. As insignificant as a sparrow may seem, if the Lord has his eyes on a sparrow, certainly he'll keep his eyes on the saints. Oh, praise his holy name. Therefore I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. I do not sing because I've had voice training. I do not sing because I've taken music. I do not sing because I can read music notes. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I've been born again. I sing because I'm a child of God. I sing because I love the Lord with all my heart, all my mind, all my soul, and all of my strength. I sing because his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he's watching over me. There's one more observation before I bid you good day, beloved. We are not only under divine surveillance, we've got something to go on, because we have divine serenity. In this world of turmoil and distress, we need peace. Not just from turmoil, we need deliverance in it. I have learned, as I have given observation to the power-packed portfolio of the performances of the Lord in the past, he has always delivered his own. If not from a dilemma, he delivered them in the dilemma. That is, beloved, if we have something to go on, we can keep calm, we can remain composed, we can keep cool and collected despite what we have to deal with. This is only possible, however, when we have the Lord's peace within us. We have quite a bit of possessions around us to look upon. It is called blessings, or shall I say, they are called blessings. A few days ago, I had the privilege of visiting my 90-year-old mother after being prevented from visiting family in my home for a year and a half due to the COVID pandemic. And during our stay, most of our immediate family gathered at her house. As we gathered, 5 generations of my mother's heritage were present under one roof at one time for the first time. While eating at the dinner table on that day, my oldest sister, just thinking out loud, said and uttered to herself, "We're blessed." As I thought about what she said, as it was her great-grandchild that rounded off the 5th generation, oh, praise his holy name, we sat around that table discussing how blessed we really are. You know, grace looks good on us. We have family, my brothers and sisters. We have a good friend or two. We have shelter. We have clothes. And we have food. We have health. And we have strength. We have resources. And we have relationships. There are people, and however, these are people and things that we can see, that we can touch, and that surrounds us. However, we need to have something within us. While the things around us are called blessings, the thing that we need in us is called peace. Therefore, this benediction closes with the most befitting term. It is the term peace. It comes from the word shalom. Shalom, yes, does not indicate the absence of war or conflict. It means well-being. It means, in short, the sum total of all of God's gifts to his people that brings about serenity within. The Hebrew word for peace, shalom, means inner solemnity. Thank God for his peace. In the computer industry, there is a software called a firewall. It is a technological feature that surrounds a computer network and prevents cyber attacks and hackers from accessing personal and classified information. Otherwise, it is a security barrier. It prevents certain information from leaking out, as well as prevent the wrong people and their computer viruses from getting in. You see, this peace that we have from God that keeps us going is therefore not indicative of the absence of trouble. It does not mean that we do not have any trouble. It is rather the divine firewall against trouble, troubling the one who's having trouble. No wonder we used to sing, and I hear people singing from time to time, trouble in my way. Yeah, I have to cry sometimes. I lay awake at night, but that's all right. I know Jesus will fix it after a while. You know, Satan is always attempting to hack into the serenity of the saints of God, but we have divine peace within, and it is a peace that surpasses all understanding. Well, what kind of peace that can surpass all understanding? It is that kind of peace about a person who catches hell all week long and still has a hallelujah in their heart. It's that kind of peace that sees a person struggle all week long and is still able to celebrate the goodness of the Lord. Oh, praise his name. Thank God that we have this level of peace. It keeps us operating. It keeps us going. It keeps us moving despite the attempts of attacks of the enemy. Thank God that God's peace passes all understanding. It is the kind of peace that helps us handle all of life's issues. That is, whatever comes our way, we can handle it. Oh, praise his name. If it's a mountain, we can climb it. If it's a valley, we can cross it. If it's opposition, we can defeat it. If it is questionable, we can prove it. If it's coming, we can wait on it. If it's invincible, we can defeat it. If it's a burden, we can bear it. If it's testing, we can surpass it because we have God's peace within. Oh, praise his name. If it's danger, we can face it. If it's difficulty, we can handle it. If it's a promise, we can wait on it. If it's a crisis, we can cope with it. If it's painful, we can endure it. If it's troubling, we can tolerate it. If it's saddening, we can get through it. If it's a struggle, we can grapple with it. If it's threatening, we can face it. If it's a failure, we can overcome it. If it's a storm, we can weather it. Oh, praise his name. And if it's miserable, we can still manage it. Whatever it is, the Lord has given us peace. I heard somebody singing, oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pains we bear. It's simply because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. I bid you good day when I tell you I haven't forfeited my peace. Thank God I have his peace. It's an inner peace. It's surpassing peace. It's divine peace. It's prevailing peace. It's lasting peace. It's a blessed peace. It's sustaining peace. It's real peace. It's sustaining peace. It's irreplaceable peace. It's enduring peace. It's calming peace. It's genuine peace. It's a quiet peace. It's godly peace. It's holy peace. It's heavenly peace. I leave you when I tell you, when peace like a river attending my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever, I need to hear somebody shouting, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it's well with my soul. You can make it now. I can make it now. We can make it now. God gave us something to go on. I've got that peace way down within. I can shout for joy and tell a dying world, this joy I have. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. This peace I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. I got it.
Thank you.